Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh, you can tell the panic is settling in. It seems as though every second week, or sometimes every week, we have a new story, a new report, another Democrat politician or Democrat thought leader coming out and ringing the alarm, warning the Democrat establishment things are going bad. And things are about to go from bad to worse if the current political trends continue into 2022. And here we go once again. A thought leader for the black community and an MSNBC host, Mr. Roland Martin, is now warning the Democrat establishment that black voters might finally leave their quote abusive relationship with the Democrats. You think? Democrats always behind on the trend. It's been happening, it is happening, it will happen as people are being red-pilled across the nation. You vote for Democrats, and what do you get? A whole load of nothing, a bunch of pandering, a bunch of promises, a bunch of empty rhetoric and empty platitudes, and then straight to the status quo benefiting the elite and politically connected alone, and you are left out too. You gotta love it, folks. People are finally waking up, and I really think that 2022 is going to be a serious wake-up call. Let me update you guys on everything: voter regret, Democrat panic, Joe Biden's track record, which is of course the catalyst to all of this. We've got some stuff to get into, but before we do, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so take a look at this scathing review of the Democrat Party from a black Democrat thought leader. Roland Martin and other tap dancers fear black voters might finally leave their abusive relationship with Democrats. If I had to distill the Democratic Party's response to black people who question leftist orthodoxy into a concise message, it would be, don't talk to them, get back in the house. Despite the unfortunate tendency of black conservatives to liken the relationship between black voters and Democrats to slaves on a plantation, the truth is this dialogue more accurately represents what an abusive husband says to a wife he thinks may leave him. Joe Biden apologized for his "you ain't black" comments last year, but his assessment of the political dynamic at play in the age of Trump were supported by the nation's foremost writer on race. Nicole Hannah-Jones tweeted, "There is a difference between being politically black and being racially black. I'm not defending anyone, but we all know this and should stop pretending that we don't." Hannah-Jones quickly deleted her tweet, but in both perception and practice her analysis was correct. Despite the predictable response, black people are not a monolith. The degree of diversity within the black body politic is irrelevant if 90% of black voters consistently make the same choice every election. Black second-class citizenship through law, policy, and social custom was legal for most of America's history. The non-discrimination of that discrimination, impacting black lawyers and janitors alike, forged a sense of racial solidarity that was used to fight for common political interests. That fight was successfully won through landmark court decisions like Brown v. Board of Education, legislation like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and changing cultural attitudes around race. Lyndon B. Johnson was correct when he predicted that his supporters of civil rights legislation and Great Society programs would secure the black vote for generations. That support has morphed into a fusion of black racial identity and Democrat Party affiliation that intensified significantly during the Trump administration. That is why a break from the left feels like a threat to Democrats and an existential crisis to black voters who have constructed their sense of self around race. This is why Democrats reacted so viciously when they thought that even a small number of black men were considering voting for Trump in 2020. Congresswoman Maxine Waters said that she would never forgive black voters who made the despicable decision to vote for Trump. Others said black men voted for Trump because they hate black women and wanted access to the white patriarchal power structure. Understanding the link between black identity and black political behavior is also why the left is so effective at using fear as a rhetorical tool. To them, black people are always one Republican away from Jim Crow, or as Joe Biden says, Jim Eagle. One reason close to half of Hispanic men voted to recall Gavin Newsom and nearly 40% voted for Trump is because they don't have a single racial narrative for Democrats to exploit. There is no Hispanic Selma or Jamie Crow for the left to use against Latino voters in the way they use historical injustices to scare black voters today. If the Democrat Party's treatment of black voters is on trial in the court of public opinion, the black leadership class of elected officials, political pundits, journalists, athletes, entertainers, entertainers, and activists are all unindicted co-conspirators. Like the party they serve, their behavior has all the necessary components of a toxic relationship: manipulation, gaslighting, codependency, public affirmation combined with private neglect, and a fierce resistance to outside interference. And of course, not to mention intimidation and public shame tactics. I'll have to add that one on. The video of Roland Martin dancing for Hillary Clinton at an HBCU town hall in 2015 captures the relationship between black elites and Democrats perfectly. The most striking thing about the video, other than its total lack of rhythm and self-respect, was the presence of the National Education Association stickers on the audience members seated behind him. That teachers union stands in opposition to school choice and the interest of black parents who support it. That is why I wasn't surprised when Martin let Clinton answer a question about public education with boilerplate talking points about charter schools not taking all students and traditional public schools needing more resources. He never noted that charter schools that fail to provide the type of education parents want for their children are shut down quickly, while government-run public schools that underperform for years often receive more funding and resources. The only circumstance under which politicians like the Clintons and Obamas would allow their children to go to failing government schools is for community service projects, but they have no problem co-signing low-income black families to them for generations. Ultimately, black men rejecting the liberal worldview want the freedom to start a business, earn a decent wage, live in a safe community, practice their faith, speak their minds publicly without social censure, provide for their wives and children, and protect their families. These men embody the spirit of Frederick Douglass, who simultaneously fought for abolition and the right to exercise self-determination and self-sufficiency. Douglass's nickname was the Lion of Anacostia, an ode to the DC neighborhood he called home. My hope is that men who are leading this break from the left remember that they are lions whose job is to protect the pride from outside intruders, not house cats looking to be fed by their master's hand. And look, this is an incredibly eloquent and on-point piece written by Squires. And what he's doing is demonstrating the disconnect between what Democrats are doing and what black voters actually want. The Democratic activist base, the journalist establishment, are consistently pushing ideas and policies that are disconnected with the actual value system of black voters. Minority communities largely reject socialism. They generally practice faith. They want to live in safe communities. They don't want to defund the police. They want school choice. They want their kids to get out of failing public schools. And as Squires stated, they want to practice self-determination. This is everything the Democrats are keeping from them. I think trends in politics move quite slowly, but the fact that in 2020 we saw more black voters vote for Donald Trump than any Republican in modern history, that should speak volumes. And frankly, that should terrify the Democrats, who are losing one of their most important voter blocks within metropolitan areas. They have used and abused and taken for granted the black vote for generations. And finally, people are starting to wake up. Joe Biden was the wake-up call. He said, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. He said, if you vote for Donald Trump, essentially they're gonna put you back in chains. Well, you voted for Joe Biden and your life has gotten nothing but worse. If that's not a massive slap in the face wake-up call, then I don't know what is. If the last 2 years of Democrat failure on education isn't a wake-up call for concerned parents in the future of their children that is actively being destroyed by Democrat policies, then I don't know what is. Al Sharpton has came out publicly multiple times and directly criticized Joe Biden's lack of effort and lack of a plan to do anything for one of the most key demographics that put him in the office in the first place. Nicki Minaj just red-pilled millions of her followers, but really, jokes aside, there is a serious political trend here that might spell the end for the Democrat establishment. And if the Democrats don't do something and do something quick, if they don't get their act together, then it pretty much spells 2 words: game over. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. Now it's time for me to get back to work though. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The media, and of course, the Democrat media, once again have egg on their face. They hyped it up and hyped it up and hyped it up. I turned on CNN the other day, and all they were talking about was this January 6th protest at the Capitol. The evil Orange Man supporters are coming back to wreak havoc on the Capitol. They're basically the same as the Taliban. We need to be on high alert in the Capitol Police. The National Guard needs to be deployed. It's gonna get real violent. Those violent Trump supporters with their history of terrible, inexcusable, indefensible, terroristic acts must be stopped. They haven't stopped. It's been days upon days of hyping up this J6 Justice rally as being a serious threat that Americans need to worry about. And I immediately thought to myself, give me a break. It's not gonna work again. Conservatives are too smart. They don't act on emotion in the same way that the left does. To be baited, to be trapped once again in an obvious political bait, to give the Democrats more ammo. Conservatives learn from their mistakes. Conservatives are inherently not violent. Not like the far left, I'll tell you that much. And so of course, the rally happened, and it was a complete dud. Clearly a total setup, clearly a total bait, and almost no one fell for it. Democrats were hoping the Trump supporters are gonna come, we're gonna turn this into some massive brawl between the police and Trump supporters, we're gonna continue to push this narrative all the way to 2022, where we can maintain our majorities in the House and the Senate, and conservatives, Trump supporters, didn't give them anything. You gotta love this, folks. Another massive loss for the Democrat media, another massive loss for Nancy Pelosi and her January 6th totally partisan commission. And so I'm gonna update you guys on what really went down, but before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers, and with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so how it started. Capitol Police Chief warns of chatter about possible violence during far-right rally. We have a strong plan in place to ensure that it remains peaceful and that if violence does occur, that we can stop it as quickly as possible, the chief said. Capitol on high alert ahead of rally in support of January 6 political prisoners. There is a heavy police presence at the US Capitol on Saturday in anticipation of a rally in support of the January 6 political prisoners. Hundreds of non-violent Trump supporters are currently in jail awaiting trial for walking through the Capitol on January 6. Capitol Police Chief Thomas Banger told reporters on Monday where he said he would put up a fence because he wasn't taking any chances. The US Capitol Police then tweeted this: teamwork, just showing the level of staff that they had ready. Security is tight as January 6 protesters trickled in on Saturday. US Capitol Police and law enforcement officers are everywhere around the Capitol this morning ahead of noon rally for those jailed after January 6, quote, insurrection. Take a look. And so you can clearly tell what they really wanted. Nancy Pelosi was just hoping that a big group was gonna show up and that a lot of arrests were going to be made. Probably tear gas and rubber bullets were gonna be sent out, escalating the situation, and Democrats would have their narrative back. The narrative that more and more Americans are just not buying anymore. But of course, it was a complete dud. It was a setup. More press, police, and undercover agents in Ray-Bans than protesters at January 6th rally in Washington, D.C. President Trump was right. Trump told reporters the Justice for J6 rally was a setup. Populists and Trump supporters feared it would be another calamity where Antifa and unnamed FBI agents would infiltrate the crowd and trigger-happy Capitol police officers would gun down young women. So the turnout was sparse. We all support the January 6 political prisoners. We just didn't want to get set up by the government or shot by Capitol Police to prove it. On Saturday, there were more police, more reporters, and undercover intelligence agents than protesters in Washington, D.C. Here are some of the scenes from the rally today. Folks, we got a more journalists than protesters situation for now. Here's a protester and the crowd is listening to her talk. So far, not a lot of rally attendees at this Justice for J6 event. On the mall, 100 or less police presence. This photo tweeted right over here pretty much puts it all into perspective. Attendance at the Justice for January 6 rally is almost all press, very few actual rally attendees. All of these journalists, all of these press outlets went there with their gear, their camera. They've convinced themselves that Trump supporters are such violent insurrectionists. Here we go again. We're gonna get the big scoop and the shots of all the violence. They got nothing because their narrative is nothing. Their narrative is bunk. I mean, just think about the contrast, put things into perspective. Last week, a far leftist, black bloc Antifa militant indiscriminately shot into a crowd of Trump supporters. The media didn't say a word. Antifa has been harassing and terrorizing. We've had examples of leftist political violence pretty much non-stop for 2 years straight. The media hasn't said a word. There's rumors of a January 6th rally, and the entire media complex shows up hoping to get a shot. If that's not a double standard, I don't know know what is. If that's not clear bias, if that's not just despicable, then I don't know what is. There is no proof, no evidence that Trump supporters are violent. In fact, there's proof to the contrary. Throughout the 5 years of Donald Trump's presidency and his political presence, there's been one incident of supposed domestic extremism from the Trump base, which ended with very minimal damage, no legitimate loss of life connected to the Trump supporters themselves, and an unarmed woman, Ashley Babbitt, losing her life as she tried to enter the Capitol. Yet MSNBC's Nicole Wallace has the gall to claim that Trump is a fan of political violence, even though the opposite has been proven to be true.
And Rev, the reason that political violence is a reality is complicated and not so complicated. The ex-president is a fan of it. He did not condemn the insurrection in forceful terms. He said on that day, "We love you." He said of the jailed insurrectionists recently that they had his support. We are heading down an incredibly perilous path here, just with one of the two parties' views on political violence.
Donald Trump, who has an extensive record of condemning political violence on both sides, they claim he's a fan of political violence, as the entire Democrat establishment has looked the other way and justified political violence for years? Give me a break. And what's probably even more despicable than these Democrats, because, we expect that from them, they're gonna act partisan no matter how disingenuous and destructive and dangerous it truly is. What's more despicable are people who claim to be Republicans feeding into the leftist narrative, the false narrative that Trump supporters are violent and enemies of the state. The Adam Kinzingers of the world, the Liz Cheneys of the world, who Representative Elise Stefanik described in perfection.
And when it comes to Liz Cheney, she is a Pelosi Republican, a Pelosi pawn at this point. She does not represent the Republican conference or Republican voters or the American people. Republicans are focused on the facts. We are not focused on protecting the Speaker of the House, who is a lame duck speaker. We want truth, accountability, and we want to make sure that the U.S. Capitol is secure as the people's house and that the violence on January 6th never happens again.
When it comes to Liz Cheney, she is a Pelosi Republican, a Pelosi pawn at this point. They all are. And the greatest part of all is that not only are Republicans not falling for the bait and giving Democrats more ammo, giving Democrats the narrative that they need to push 2022 fear-mongering, but Pelosi Republicans are being ousted one after another. One down, 9 to go. Trump takes victory lap after Rhino announces he won't seek re-election. Save America, President Donald J. Trump, September 17th, 2021. Statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. One down, 9 to go. I mean, you absolutely have to love this guy. Rhino Republican Anthony Gonzalez announced that he will not be seeking re-election in 2022. Rhino Republican Anthony Gonzalez, who voted yes on impeaching Donald Trump. The swamp is being drained. They're dropping like flies, like dominoes, one after another. The absolutely despicable betrayal, tagging on to the Democrat narrative, to Nancy Pelosi's phony narrative, condemning and smearing their own voter base as being violent insurrectionists, which literally could not be further from the truth. Well, they're all being purged from the party one after another. Far lefty Democrats are seething with rage. What they've been trying to do in the Democrat Party, getting rid of all the corporate establishment Democrats and replacing them with grassroots far leftists, they haven't been able to win at all. When it comes to the Republican grassroots movement, an entirely new party is being born. Rhinos are becoming a thing of the past as the party goes from the GOP to the America First Party. You gotta love it, folks. Democrats losing at every point and turn. That's what I got for you guys, though. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. I gotta get back to work, though. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. If it wasn't for the human condition, then the human conditioning that we have been seeing, specifically with liberals, wouldn't exist. Human beings are especially susceptible to fear campaigns, otherwise known as fear-mongering, and especially on the Democrat side, a type of person who is fully willing to give up freedom or oppress others if a promise of safety is given to them by the powers that be. Without this specific concept concept, Democrats would never be in power, liberals would never win elections. Whenever talking about this concept, I always refer to the 2020 election. Democrats didn't run on a policy platform. Democrats ran on a platform of fear. This is Donald Trump's America. Donald Trump is responsible for the coup and the fact that we took your job away. Donald Trump is responsible for all the loss of life from the coup. The riots, the violence, it's all Trump's America. It's Trump's fault. Vote for us if you want to be safe. Of course, it was all a lie. It was all propaganda, but it worked. And Democrats know this. But they are taking their tactics of fear-mongering so incredibly far that they are creating an unhinged segment of society. People who have completely lost the plot, folks. People who are exhibiting completely unhinged behavior. People who are frankly scared out of their minds because their minds have been warped by liberal media constantly pumping fear into their thought process. They're scared of the world, and they have been led to believe a false reality, a total exaggeration of the danger, which makes them act out in exactly this way. A woman in California goes absolutely nuts in a restaurant because an individual working there didn't want to provide her with her jab status, and she starts assaulting people, going on an all-out tantrum and attacking multiple staff members at that restaurant. This is exactly what liberal indoctrination and liberal fear-mongering leads to. This is why people are divided. The media has created unhinged, emotional liberals, partisan zombies, who are making political unity a pipe dream of the past. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean, but before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we got this piece right over here from the dailymail.co.uk. I'm vaccinated. B, quote, Karen attacks California restaurant worker with cleaning spray for not wearing a face covering and demands to see her jab card before hitting another staff member. Truly unhinged. This is the moment an allegedly drunk woman attacks a California restaurant worker for not wearing a face covering before hitting another who tried to intervene. The unnamed woman, branded a Karen after the cell phone footage went viral, was filmed pushing, throwing things at, and spraying cleaning spray at a female employee at Market Broiler in Huntington Beach, California. Despite not wearing a face covering herself, the Karen attacks the restaurant supervisor, demanding to see her jab card and bragging that she herself didn't need to wear one because I'm jab. B. The nearly 7-minute long video begins with the already hysterical customer screaming in the face of the staff member that she doesn't know what it feels like to be discriminated against. I'll take you through some pictures because for the most part, the video itself probably won't fly on YouTube. This is the moment an allegedly drunk woman attacks a California restaurant worker for not wearing a face covering. The Karen then hits another staff member and grappled with her after she tried to intervene. The woman branded a Karen, and here are the rest of the pictures. We'll just slowly scroll through this. And so you can tell exactly what's going on here. This is an individual who watches MSNBC, CNN, reads Rolling Stone all day long, and is getting nothing but constant reinforcement about how dangerous the world is and how much you should fear anybody who doesn't follow the liberal doctrine. Absolutely. It's getting completely out of hand, folks. We already know, we've seen the studies, that people who identify as liberal, and especially very liberal, are much more susceptible to, how should I say this, psychological abnormalities than other demographic groups. That's been statistically proven. This, my friends, is the end result. This is what a corrupt media that runs nothing but fear, fear, fear creates. Divide and conquer is the strategy. Far lefties have been convinced that you are the enemy, that you're an evil racist, that you're a bigot, a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist who doesn't care about health, safety, and the safety of others. They have been conditioned to think that you are the enemy, as their supposed allies in the media and the government elite betray them at every point in turn. I mean, for Pete's sakes, even Bill Maher can admit it. Bill Maher rips liberal media for scaring the S out of people over the coup. It's one thing to be concerned, it's one thing to be armed with the facts. It's another for the media to take a narrative, to take a crisis, a pandemic, and to completely blow it out of proportion, to run non-stop fear-mongering each and every single day, and to pit 50% of America onto the other 50%. They are the enemy. And we see this with so many different issues from the left. You can tell this based on the data. When liberals are questioned about issues, they have widely widely exaggerated views when it comes to the actual danger connected to these issues. Here's a little statement from a Twitter user, and I'll go into the numbers after. When asked how many unarmed black men were shot by police last year, a majority of liberals thought it was more than 1,000. Actually, it was as many as 30, and 30, by the way, is a higher estimate. 67% of liberals think that those with COVID-19 need to be hospitalized more than 25% of the time, meaning liberals think that 25% of people who contract the illness, liberals think end up hospitalized. Actually, it's 4%. And here we go into the data specifically when it comes to police brutality and the liberal perspective. How many unarmed black men were killed by the police in 2019? When you see very conservative and conservative, for the most part it's about the same numbers, a large majority answered around 10, knowing that the number is not sky high. But the more liberal you get on that scale of political orientation, from moderate to very liberal, the more the answer goes from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 to more than 10,000. I covered this on a live stream over a year ago, where Will Witt and the Officer Tatum went interviewing liberals in California, and I asked them a very simple question. How many unarmed black men do you think lose their lives indiscriminately to police shootings every single year in Los Angeles alone? In one city, the answers are going to blow you away.
How many black people were shot unarmed in LA in 2019? Do you know that number?
Yeah, like 100, 150.
Maybe the hundreds, but like 500 to 1,000. Like, you know, it's
1,000 unarmed. Well, it's only been one.
100, 150, over 100, 500 to 1,000. They have been conditioned by the liberal media to think that issues are way worse than they actually are. They legitimately believe that there is an ongoing genocide being perpetrated by police departments across the country. They didn't get to that conclusion from nowhere. They got to that conclusion from the constant fear-mongering from the left. It's non-stop. Just a couple weeks ago with the media establishment pushing the whole horse dewormer narrative in respect to IBM, well, Rachel Maddow still has not deleted the tweet promoting her dubious story of IVM patients overloading hospitals, something which the hospital itself disproved as complete false information. In fact, Joy Reid, a week later, pushed that same narrative after it had been debunked in viral fashion. She knew she was pushing a false story, but pushing partisan fear-mongering was more important to her audience. Now again, the New York Times forced to correct a major error on IVM. The New York Times reported a startling statistic in late August. Calls to poison control centers about IVM exposures have risen dramatically, jumping fivefold over their baseline in July, according to CDC researchers, who cited data from the American Association of Poison Control Centers. Mississippi's health department said earlier this month that 70% of recent calls to the state poison control center had come from people who ingested IVM from livestock supply stores. Wow, 70% of all recent calls to Mississippi's poison control center have been IVM ingestions? This is shocking. This is troubling. This is also 100% false. The Mississippi State Department of Health, which is responsible for putting out the original 70% statistic, clarified at the time that IVM-related calls actually represented 2% of total calls to the state. Fear-mongering propaganda non-stop. Donald Trump didn't divide the nation. A corrupt media pushing fear-mongering Trump derangement news 24/7 did. Wake up, folks. Your neighbor is not the enemy. The political class that pits you against each other is. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. I gotta get back to work though. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, the channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I mean, who would have thought that Nicki Minaj, of all people, would be the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to the culture war? Democrats have truly overstepped their boundaries. They've overstepped so significantly that even celebrities now are saying enough is enough. And honestly, as crazy as this sounds, Nicki Minaj is the perfect person to take them all on. She's got a massive cult following. She does not hold back whatsoever, and she has been absolutely blasting anyone in her path. This time, a liberal journalist from the liberal UK outlet, The Guardian, as Nicki Minaj exposes left-wing predatory journalism for millions to see. They've been printing fake stories, attacking her family, harassing her family, family. She is putting them all on blast. So we'll start off with that, then we'll talk a little bit about Joy Reid and just get into the craziness when it comes to liberal journalism in general. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so when I say predatory liberal journalists, I really mean what I'm saying. Crossing the line, Nicki Minaj exposes the media mafia, posts private messages from reporters threatening her family members. Nicki Minaj is facing a true reality check after speaking out about wanting to be fully informed before she rushed the jab. Now she is dealing with a constant stream of backlash from the establishment, including big tech who locked her out of her Twitter account for a few hours yesterday for her dissent. The White House even offered to give her a call to, quote, educate her about what is acceptable to say and think under their tyrannical regime, but she declined. The censorship of free-thinking individuals who question any part of the approved narrative is nothing new, and now thanks to Minaj's platform with millions of followers, over 150 million on Instagram alone, more people are waking up to what's going on. Nicki Minaj wasn't having any of it. She posted screenshots of the direct messages between the reporter and her family to Instagram, and explained that her family was forced to hide out because she spoke against the, quote, science. They're forcing my family to have to hide out. This is what speaking up looks like. Millions of poor people are treated this way by the people that you think are the, quote, good guys, of course, referencing the Democrats. This is unconscionable. Threatening my family in Trinidad won't bode well for you. The Guardian journalist, Charlene Rampersad, reached out to Minaj's cousin, who she referred to as Mr. Daniel in a private chat on WhatsApp. She explained that CNN was also in the country looking for him and that they would not hesitate to dox him and his girlfriend if they found them. The reporter then shamelessly tries to claim the man's identity and where his loved ones lived would be safe if he completed an interview with the Guardian. Take a look at this. Hi, good day. My name is Charlene Rampersad. I am a reporter with the Guardian Media. I was hoping to speak to you for an article. Would that be possible? Then an hour and a half later, was it your friend Nicki was speaking about in her tweet? 30 minutes later, Mr. Daniel, 5.5 hours later, hey, good evening, have you considered speaking to me? I am also hoping I have a conversation with your friend. The next day, I know you are hesitant to speak with us, but just letting you know CNN is in the country looking for you, and when they find you, they won't hesitate to reveal where you live or where your GF lives. Anything and anyone who is tied to you. If you speak to me, we won't reveal those details. Then 30 minutes later, so what do you say? This, my friends, is predatory journalism. This, my friends, is straight up harassment. Sending out a text, getting no reply. An hour later, another. 5 hours, another couple. The next day, sending out a straight up threat. Waiting 30 minutes, no reply, and saying, so what do you say? This is how the good guys operate. The virtuous, compassionate lefties in the media are just such incredible people. I mean, give me a break. They're the exact bullies we've been calling them out for multiple years. Intimidation tactics. All the left ever resorts to are intimidation tactics. Slander and political smears. We don't call them smear merchants for no reason now, do we? Rolling Stone, of course, jumping on the same type of bandwagon. Nicki Minaj is now a QAnon hero. Far-right conspiracy theorists have embraced the rapper following her unhinged social media posts about the coof and the jab. What unhinged posts has she released? She even said that she was open to taking the jab, she just wanted more information. She was merely trying to inquire for some more information so that she can make, God forbid, uninformed decision. Lefties don't want you to be informed, they want you to submit, and submit entirely to leftist dogma and leftist narratives. When Nicki Minaj compared the Democrat Party and the way the Twitter mob and social media are acting in the current day to the Chinese Communist Party, she wasn't exactly off now, was she? The constant attacks, the constant lies, the smears, going after her family, intimidating her family, claiming CNN is looking for you. They came to the country specifically to look for you, and if they find you, they'll dox your entire family. So you better cooperate with us at The Guardian so we can write a hit piece on your friend and family member Nicki Minaj and use you as the ammo. I mean, think about how disgusting this is. Where do these people get off? Who do they think they are? I mean, they wonder why more and more people are just not taking them seriously anymore. They operate in an anti-reality of propaganda and lies. Speaking of that exact notion, let's go back to Joy Reid, who's at the center of this whole debacle. Joy Reid, in response to Nicki Minaj, Tucker Carlson and the right are using Nicki Minaj. They look down on the culture. Look at this unhinged, completely untrue segment from Joy Reid. I mean, these people have lost their minds.
But the worst part of all this, honestly, is not even the personal attacks. The worst part is who is enjoying this so much. People like white nationalist, curious Viktor Orban enthusiast and no friend of hip-hop or non-white people, period, Tuckums Carlson. Nicki Minaj endorsed this clip of his yesterday where he praises her for, quote, enraging the political class. And when people responded that she might not want to be associated with a white nationalist, she essentially gave in to the right's favorite talking point, that somehow celebrities are not allowed to agree with Republicans. She also tweeted, you know how many U.S. presidents were white supremacists? Well, yes, we do. A whole lot of them.
How can I help you?
But what people like Tuckums and the Ben Shapiros and other right-wing bomb throwers want is not Nicki Minaj to have free speech. What they want is a vehicle to drag as many of her fans into their anti-vax camp as they can. They need and crave authentic members of the culture, hip-hop culture. Let's just be clear. They look down on that culture and hate that culture and would never, ever support someone like Nicki Minaj other than to pull her onto their team.
They're using Nicki Minaj to drag as many of her fans into their anti-VAX camp as they can. You cannot be as much of a partisan liar as Joy Reid. Even if you tried to, it's just impossible. Immediately upon listening to this, I said to myself, Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson are anti-jab? Have you lost your mind? If you're paying attention, and I mean paying attention at all, you know that that is a completely fabricated smear. Ben Shapiro is the opposite of anti-jab. Conservative Ben Shapiro makes the case for mandatory jabs. Ben Shapiro has been championing the jab since the start. Profound benefits. Tucker Carlson says the jab lowers COOF severity in hospitalizations. Both of them are absolutely, unequivocally, provably not anti-jab. Yet Joy Reid can say this stuff and her viewers just gulp it up as liberal media brainwashing and programming continues. Not to mention the hypocrisy during the exact same segment. Joy Reid admits that she was, quote, hesitant of the jab itself under Trump, but pushed it under Biden. Look, I was hesitant when Donald Trump was out there controlling the CDC. Controlling the CDC? You gotta be out of your mind to say something like that. Controlling the FDA and manipulating them and making them put out falsehoods. Anybody rational was hesitant. Yeah, real rational. People who are so deeply political and partisan, such vile, disingenuous political hacks, like you, Joy Reid, are the only people who buy this stuff. You're not rational, you've lost your mind. Not to mention, she was literally anti-jab under the Trump administration. Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson are clearly much more rational and less partisan, considering their medical perspective and medical analysis doesn't change based on who the president is. The level of corruption, the level of collusion between Democrats and their talking head Democrat operatives in the media is just astonishing. The lengths that they will go to attack and smear anyone who get in the way of their political propaganda peddling. That's great alliteration now, isn't it? Political propaganda peddling. But I'm telling you folks, they're overstepping their boundaries. The people who got red-pilled and saw it all for what it really was in 2016 all the way till now, they're not changing their minds. But the more the media lies and smears and intimidates, the more they continue to push the envelope, the more they are destroying themselves and their credibility. And now we have Nicki Minaj blasting them with over 150 million followers. I think a lot of people are going to start to wake up to what's really going on here, folks. Let the red pilling commence. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share it as much as possible. Like usual, I got to get back to work though. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I really don't like using the word hate. I don't like saying I hate something, I hate someone. I try to save that word specifically for where there's no other word to describe it and I truly mean it. So here we go. I absolutely hate this current administration. Everything about it, but what really gets under my skin, what is truly so frustrating to the point where my blood boils to the extent where I can say that four-letter word, is just the lies and the propaganda, the hiding of the truth. The Biden administration has not been honest for even a second. They have lied about everything. They lied about Afghanistan, and we saw where that led. A leaked phone call showed Joe Biden even asked the Afghan president himself to lie about the situation on the ground. Jen Psaki seems to be lying every single day at the White House podium to protect their boy, Joe Biden. They've lied about the economy, their entire policy platform, lied to their voters, lied to the American people, to Republicans, to allies. Probably the only country that Joe Biden hasn't lied to is China, as crazy as that sounds. And of course, they've lied about the border, which is what we're going to cover today. Not only has the Biden administration consistently lied when it comes to their border policies, when it comes to the reality on the ground at the border, but they're even trying to cover it up. The last thing Joe Biden needs right now is another foreign policy blunder. Well, guess what? It's happening. And one news agency was going to cover it by collecting drone footage. And what did the Biden administration do? They banned drones from the site. You have got to be kidding me. There's a reason China is the only country the Biden administration hasn't lied to, because they're one in the same, using the exact same tactics to hide and manipulate the truth from the American people. It's absolutely un-American and reprehensible, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what's going on here. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, and with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so before I show you the level of deceit from the Biden administration, let's go to the #1 story on Saturday, September 18th, as I'm recording this video, from Byron York of the DC Examiner. Remember when Biden said the border surge was, quote, seasonal? Well, here we go with another Biden lie being exposed. It was just seasonal, folks. It happens every single year, nothing to see here. Well, Joe, if you say there's nothing to see here, then how about you let people see? Oh, no, of course. Biden would never let that happen. Acting like a true Chinese despot dictator, Fox News drone banned from filming immigrants under Texas bridge after mass border crossing by thousands of Haitians. A drone operated by Fox News has been banned from flying over the international bridge in Texas after thousands of migrants, mostly Haitian, assembled underneath the structure in recent days. Fox News reporter Bill Malugan broke the news to Tucker Carlson on Thursday night, hours after the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, brought in a 2-week flight restriction over Del Rio, Texas. It means the network can no longer show viewers footage from a drone that it has flown over the international bridge between Del Rio and Ciudad Acuña, Mexico for nearly 7 months. No drones allowed. Supreme Leader Joe Biden has announced the American people do not have a right to see. How absolutely despicable. To which Fox News immediately responded, well, if drones are banned, we're just gonna get a helicopter. Fox News cleared to fly after Biden FAA temporarily bans drones over bridge packed with illegal immigrants. Quick thinking, quickly subverting this despicable law and showing you exactly what's going on. Another Biden crisis, which continues to balloon out of control. It was never seasonal to begin with.
Earlier there was nothing, but this is a remarkable scene here showing just how much this situation down here is deteriorating. Let's take a live look at our Fox drone right now, which is over the international bridge, which is where this crisis first started. Sources are telling me the number of migrants under that bridge has now swelled to more than 14,000. Consider that on Wednesday morning, it was just over 4,000. So these numbers are absolutely exploding.
Do you guys see the extent of the Biden border crisis? We're talking about thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people flooding in each and every day. We're talking about upwards of 200,000 people being apprehended at the border every month, consistently, not seasonal, not going up to a massive high in a couple months and then dropping down like a bell curve. We're talking about consistent 200,000 plus people every single month, and it never ends. And the Biden administration doesn't want you to see it. They don't want to take another L where they clearly deserve another L. So absolutely reprehensible. The US will reportedly fly Haitians to Haiti beginning on Sunday amid massive migrant pileup in Del Rio, Texas. Clearly, the Biden administration has absolutely no choice but to send the people back, which just adds more confusion and more hypocrisy to this whole thing. Why do you think they're coming? They're coming because of Biden border policy campaign promises. They essentially said, we will welcome you with open arms. They caused this problem, and now we're stuck having to clean it up because the only reason they said that in the first place was to appeal to progressive leftists, get their vote, and now they have to clean the mess that they created created. And as they clean that mess, they don't want any of the blame. They don't want people to even know that it's going on, hence why the FAA banned drone flights over the facility. They didn't want to show you what Fox News just showed you. They want to keep the conversation on the COVID pandemic. It's the only issue that Democrats think they're winning on, even though we're slowly starting to see Joe Biden's COVID-19 approval ratings start to take a slow but consistent dip each and every day. They don't want the media to focus on immigration because these are his immigration numbers. We need to completely omit the Hill/Harris X poll, which is consistently overestimating Joe Biden's support by over 10% on nearly every single issue, 25%, 36%, and 37% approval, and I'd say that's generous for Joe Biden on immigration. And so what do? They don't address the issues, they don't change the rhetoric. I mean, God forbid they alienate Democrat voters by essentially sounding like Trump, even though that's what they're gonna have to do eventually behind the scenes anyways. They act like dictators, they act like the CCP, and ban basic journalism and coverage of the disaster that they have started. People need to be made aware of exactly what's going on here, friends. The disservice that the media and the current administration is doing is completely undemocratic. The electorate is supposed to be armed with information. In order to have a strong, vibrant economy, you need an informed public. But the Biden administration and Democrats thrive on misinformation and an uninformed public. But you can only keep Americans under a rock for so long. It's no longer working. Just take a look at some of these headlines. Can President Biden recover from the worst monthly drop in presidential leadership index in 2 decades? The editorial team on tipping sites delves deep into the presidential leadership index historic drop. September was the biggest monthly decline in the IDP/TIPP presidential leadership index history, plunging 9.3 points from 58.7 to 49.8, a 15.8% decline. Joe Biden is making history as being the greatest presidential train wreck in American history. I mean, who would have seen it coming? A national disgrace, or as the Gateway pundit puts it, national humiliation. 70% of Americans are embarrassed by Biden's failed Afghanistan withdrawal. A new poll found that 70% of Americans agreed with the statement that Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal was a national humiliation. And it's quickly going from Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal being a national humiliation to very clearly Joe Biden himself, his entire incompetent administration, and their track record, their job performance as being a national humiliation. There's no other way to describe it. And the way the Democrats respond shows you exactly who and what they are. They constantly ragged after Donald Trump as being thin-skinned or being unable to take criticism or handle scrutiny whatsoever, admit that he was wrong. Talk about the irony, considering the actions of this administration to literally spin every single PR blunder, every disaster, every crisis, instead of address them, instead of take responsibility. The buck stops with me, Joe Biden says, as he bans journalism from the southern border to save his own behind after launching a blind drone strike in Kabul, Afghanistan, ending the lives of 10 civilians in another attempt to save his own behind and push out some phony propaganda that he thwarted a terrorist attack. I've never seen such a despicable administration in my life. Granted, I'm not very old, but Joe Biden is setting the bar real high, and it's going to be very hard to meet. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. I gotta get back to work though. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Folks, this is why you never vote for the establishment. This is exactly why Donald Trump was such an important candidate, faults and all. You never vote for the phony politician projecting a politician image, but really representing the status quo. And that is really all the Democrats have to offer. Phony, snake-like politicians who make decisions based on political perception, upcoming political events, election cycles, voter demographics, instead of America First policy decisions. That's what happens when you vote for Joe Biden, and you are now experiencing the consequences. Why do you think Joe Biden extended the withdrawal in Afghanistan right before 9/11? Because during the 9/11 memorial, he wanted to take a victory lap, claiming that he and he alone ended the 20-year war in Afghanistan. And here we are in a moment of reflection on September 11th. That's why he did it, and that's why it was a complete mess. And then during the mess, why do you think they just blindly launched a drone strike to combat all the negative press and all the negative PR that they were getting, falsely claiming that they thwarted a terrorist attack and targeted 2 ISIS-K members on their way to the Kabul airport, making decisions based on political perception, based on upcoming election cycles, instead of the betterment of the American people and frankly the betterment of the world. And now that exact scandal is blowing up as Biden's Pentagon finally admits that it was a, quote, tragic mistake and that they accidentally targeted 10 civilians and 2 US NGO-connected humanitarian workers. Biden is a war criminal, and his administration now even admits it. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on, but before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers, and with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so finally, Biden's Pentagon admits the truth. Pentagon admits Kabul drone strike was a, quote, tragic mistake after ending the lives of 10 civilians, 0 terrorists. Washington, 10 civilians including as many as 7 children, and no terrorists were killed in Kabul by a drone strike that the Pentagon had hailed initially as, quote, righteous. The Pentagon announced Friday, our investigation now concludes the strike was a tragic mistake, Marine General Frank McKenzie, Chief of U.S. Central Command, said on Friday. We'll play a little bit of a clip here just so you guys can get an idea.
Finally, it is my assessment that they did believe, as reported, that there was a secondary explosion. Our investigation now concludes that the strike was a tragic mistake.
It was just a tragic mistake that they're finally admitting to. He then goes on to claim that it wasn't a rushed response. They had 8 hours following the car around, analyzing the intelligence. Analyzing what intelligence? The New York Times seemingly did a better job than the military, finding out that that white little sedan that was driving around Kabul was going to a known US NGO headquarters and delivering water. Not to mention, that was literally the guy's daily routine. You mean to tell me the top intel analysts, people who are paid to do this stuff, people who are supposed to be the highest of experts in their field, couldn't figure out that the headquarters that this white little sedan was driving to all day was connected to a US humanitarian group? That's absolutely crazy to me. This is exactly what happens when you have a military that is more focused on CRT and woke politics, genuflecting to Democrat causes, and actually doing their job. This is exactly what happens when you politicize the military. There's no other way to describe it, and I don't care what anyone says, to me this was political. This was a PR stunt, a PR move. Joe Biden and military officials were getting absolutely lambasted in the media, and so they just needed a win. So they picked a target and they launched a strike. Pretty much as simple as that. They even had the audacity following the strike to claim that it was righteous. Flashback, General Milley called US drone strike that ended the lives of children and civilians, quote, righteous.
At the time, and I think this is still valid, we had very good intelligence that ISIS-K was preparing a specific type vehicle at a specific type location. We monitored that through various means, and all of the engagement criteria were being met. We went through the same level of rigor that we've done for years, and we took a strike. So that we did. Secondly, is we know that there were secondary explosions. Because there were secondary explosions, there's a reasonable conclusion to be made that there was explosives in that vehicle. The third thing is we know from a variety of other means that at least one of those people that were killed was ISIS facilitator. So, were there others killed? Yes, there are others killed. Who they are, we don't know. We'll try to sort through all that. But we believe that the procedures, at this point, I don't want to influence the outcome of an investigation, but at this point we think that the procedures were correctly followed and it was a righteous strike.
They didn't have all the information, they didn't have good intel, they didn't even know the identities of the people that they were launching the strike on, yet they have the audacity to claim victory, putting out a totally false narrative, total propaganda, claiming that they thwarted an attack on Afghani civilians and US military members. Then they had the entire liberal media industrial complex peddling their narrative for multiple days straight, pushing a totally fabricated false narrative, total government propaganda, to save the public disaster that their supreme leader entire Joe Biden was going through. And of course, what's even worse beyond that is just the lies that followed. The Pentagon literally claimed, trying to justify their action and justify their strike, that when that white sedan was struck, a secondary explosion occurred, which they have now pulled back, and there was apparently no evidence of a second explosion. The extent that this administration and the Washington swamp will go to defend itself and its crony allies is truly astonishing. Where do you think the media gets it from? It comes from the top, clearly, disseminating false information for all the parrots in the media to, well, parrot, regardless of the damage that it may cause, and of course equally as reprehensible, regardless of what the truth really is. It's disgusting. You're telling me that the Pentagon would have fact-checked itself? You're telling me that if the New York Times didn't come out with the expose that it released a couple days ago, that the Pentagon would have cleared this one up and would have admitted to the wrongdoing and this, quote, tragic mistake? Of course not. They were fully willing to peddle a lie, which Democrats and Democrat operatives within the media masquerading as journalists would have peddled happily to defend their supreme lord, Joe Biden. They would have never told you the truth. The narrative would have been Joe Biden, supreme leader-in-chief, Democrat deity, thwarted an ISIS-K terror attack in Kabul. He is a hero. Case closed, which clearly couldn't be further from the truth. Joe Biden and his cohorts in the media and the military have blood on their hands, and in my opinion, I don't care what anyone says, like I say in all of these videos, have seriously committed a war crime, indiscriminately launching an attack on innocent civilians, US allies, and then lying about it to cover it up and turn it into some sort of political victory for Joe Biden to parade across the country. I mean, just think about that. Think about that little synopsis that I just created. Is that not the most disgusting thing you have heard in a very long time? They're all corrupt actors in Washington who have each other's back. I don't care if they're GOPers, Democrats, rhinos, and corrupt Democrats are the same thing, cut from the same cloth. Deep state operatives working beneath the surface, working within the shadows, frankly, lurking within the shadows, subverting the will of the American people at every point of turn. A top US general, which is of course General Mark Milley, said, "I agree with you on everything" when Nancy Pelosi called Trump crazy after the Capitol riot. The same general who pushed a totally false narrative about the drone strike in Kabul, and that same general who Biden says he has great confidence in Milley as handlers shoo away reporters.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Sir, did General Milley do the right thing, sir?
Thank you.
In your
Thank you,
opinion,
guys. Thank
did
you.
General
Come on,
Milley
let's
do
go.
the right
Thank-
thing?
I have
Thank you,
great
guys.
confidence in General Milley.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And of course, don't forget the third wheel, the same general and the same president that left-wing media operatives continue to play defense for. From the Atlantic, Trump put Milley in an impossible position. The general stayed inside the lines, barely. The real problem is that he was in that situation at all. Milley's act of treason, all the failure, all the incompetence. It's not the incompetent political elite's fault. It's Donald Trump's fault. Give me a break. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. I gotta get back to work though. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Don't you guys love it when you have a theory, when you have a hypothesis, you say something, but you don't necessarily have all of the facts or all of the proof, you just feel it in your gut. And then a couple weeks later, a story comes out, a report, that completely verifies your theory. I don't know about you guys, but geez, I just love being right. I mean, I kind of feel bad for liberals. When's the last time liberals were vindicated? We've been basking in the glory of so many debunked narratives, and liberals haven't gotten one. I mean, those poor souls. And here is another one. You know how I'm always claiming that Joe Biden and of course the Democrats are completely beholden to the teachers unions? Well, it turns out that we now have confirmation. New leaked emails from the teachers unions to the White House and as well as the CDC ostensibly prove that the teachers unions strong-armed both the CDC and the White House to change their perspective on mask guidance. Folks, it's so bad with Democrats in charge that the teachers unions are almost operating as a shadow government, pulling strings behind the scenes. People you don't trust with your kids' education at this point are leading some of the most important policy decisions at the federal level. That's nuts. Wait till I show you guys this stuff, and then let's just get into a little bit of an update on what's going on with Joe Biden. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, and share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned. YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so two specific stories here. The first one from about a week ago, CDC tightened masking guidelines after threats from teachers unions emails show. And then just yesterday, new emails show teachers unions strong-armed the Biden administration on school mask policy. We've seen this movie before, and there was also a paper trail showing collusion between the CDC and the teachers unions. I had some great teachers. I know not all of them are like this, but those calling the plays simply don't want to go back to work. It's about flexing those political muscles amid a pandemic. We have 3 vaccines, they work, and here in Fairfax County, most if not all, teachers are already vaccinated. They cut the line when the rollouts began, and after all of that, they are still refusing to get back into the classroom. If you missed this story regarding the CDC and the teachers unions mucking up school reopenings, it's because the liberal media suffocated it with a pillow. They got away with it the first time, so why not try this again concerning mask mandates in school? Actually, this time it wasn't collusion, as it was more of a shakedown. It was a mix of both collusion and coercion. Sounds like typical labor union behavior to me. And like last time, there are emails via Fox News. Here's a Fox News journalist giving you guys the TLDR, the too long didn't read, and then I'll update you guys on the actual email.
Latest batch of emails show that there was again influence from the teachers unions in relation to mask guidance. So in May, the CDC announced updated guidance for vaccinated Americans. However, this sparked confusion on how it would apply in school settings. And the emails that we received show is that after the CDC announced this guidance, the NEA, the largest teachers unions, drafted a statement criticizing the CDC for their newest mask guidance. However, the White House Director of Labor Engagement actually got the NEA to hold off on releasing this critical statement and instead instructed the CDC Director, Rochelle Walensky, to start doing damage control and calling the teachers unions around town in relation to their newest guidance. At the end of the day, the CDC clarified mask guidance for vaccinated Americans in school settings, and the NEA released a statement markedly different than the very harsh critical one they drafted the day earlier, and praised the CDC for the guidance, and the critical one never saw the light of day.
And so here is the email in question. Hi Sherry, would you know when Dr. Walensky would be able to call NEA President Becky Kringle? They've gotten significant incoming and are getting targeted for a response from the media. I've gotten to hold on their statement calling for clarification. We've then got this email right over here. NEA just sent me the following draft statement. We appreciate the developing nature of the science and its implications for guidance, but releasing the new guidance without accompanying school-related updates creates confusion and fuels the intentional politicization of this basic health and safety issue. CDC has consistently said, and studies support, that mitigating measures, including to protect the most vulnerable, remain necessary in schools and institutions of higher education, particularly because no elementary or middle school students and few high school students have been vaccinated. This will also make it hard for school boards and leaders of institutions of higher education to do the right thing by maintaining mitigating measures. We need CDC clarification right away. Followed up with will do. She is connecting with Becky now. Update on my end, left 4 messages and spoke with Randy and Becky. Thanks. The next day on May 15th, the CDC updated its masking guidance to indicate that all people should wear masks at school regardless of vaccination status. This batch of emails came just weeks after we already exposed the teachers unions influenced the CDC on school openings. Americans for Public Trust Executive Director Caitlin Sutherland told Fox News, lo and behold, less than 2 weeks later, they're at it again, but this time in relation to mask guidance. The teachers unions are using their political power, collective political power, to influence governmental policy regardless of the science. They say it's because of the science, but really it's in spite of the science. The science does not support their request. And I totally agree with the opinion piece at the start from Town Hall that this is really about not going back to work. We've seen it for nearly 2 years now. The teachers unions have used all of their political might to do everything not to return back to the classroom. It's pretty much as simple as that. And this is what happens when you have a union, a corrupt union, that's tied in with the highest levels of political power. A corrupt collective of educators who don't care about the betterment of the next generation. They only care about not having to work hard. Children in public schools, be damned. Children falling years behind, be damned. Teachers want to be sipping on their mojitos and sunbathing all day, as we've literally seen multiple teachers representing teachers' unions fearmonger of the dangers of going back to school, only to have pictures leaked to the press a week later that they're in the Bahamas or at some Caribbean tropic resort. This is what happens when you have government entities instead of free market entities. If schools were private, if schools were charter schools, if there was actual competition within the field, if you had to actually do your job and perform, because your salary and your funding was dependent on it like literally anybody else in the world, this type of nonsense wouldn't exist. And it's the exact same thing that we're seeing in the larger picture. Just the other day I went to the McDonald's drive-thru and they had to close it. It was like 20 people waiting in line. I just wanted to get an ice cream and they had to close the line because 2 people were working. They were so completely understaffed they just couldn't deal with the influx in customers. People are just refusing to go to work. Why would they have to if they don't need to, if they can just stay at home and collect government benefits? The idea is to refuse to participate, to boycott society, and to force a Marxist overtake, a revolution so to speak, because frankly people just don't want to work anymore. You know, it's no coincidence that Joe Biden just the other day said this.
We can build an economy that gives working people a fair shot this time. We can restore some sanity and fairness to our tax code. We can make the investments that we know are long overdue in this nation.
The pandemic does present us with an opportunity to remake the economy. And what do you mean, remake the economy? Socialism? Communism? Government dependence? People not having to go to work? They are destroying the economy almost purposely. It's almost like sabotage, to use it as an excuse to rewrite the whole system. It's like I always tell you guys, inflict damage on the economy through crony capitalism, then blame capitalism, and say that socialism's the answer. You know, Joe Biden recently said this as well.
I know many Americans are still struggling to make it through each and every day. For too many, it's harder and harder to pay the bills, food, gas, rent, healthcare.
Essentially, Joe Biden admitting that life sucks under his presidency. For too many, it's harder and harder to pay bills, gas, and rent. I wonder why. Does it maybe have something to do with the draconian measures, the government overreach, the trampling of individual rights, government getting in the way of people's ability to make a livelihood and to feed their families? Does that maybe have something to do with it? The Democrats stab you in the back, then ask you why you're bleeding and give you a band-aid. The knife being government overreach and crony capitalism and corruption. The band-aid being socialism. But this is just more proof that the people behind the scenes actually pulling the strings are corrupt, incompetent Democrat lobbyist groups who don't have your best interest at heart whatsoever. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. I gotta get back to work though. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Democrats. Democrats, and especially far-lefty Democrats and bad ideas, go together like baseball and chewing tobacco. I mean, they're basically synonymous. It's the same damn thing. And you know, this political game, elections, the news cycle, it's called a cycle for a reason. It's almost like a metaphor. It runs in a cycle, a repetitive cycle. It's the same thing over and over again. And guess what cycle we're in right now that the Democrats are very vulnerable? And a 2022 disaster for the Democrats looms right around the corner. We are in throw progressives under the bus cycle as the Democrat establishment tries to back away and save themselves from the embarrassment of voting alongside the squad, progressives, defund the police measures, etc., etc., etc. Here we go again. A couple weeks ago, I covered what was being referred to in Black Lives Matter circles as a big FU to Black Lives Matter from the Democrat establishment, as the Senate voted 99-0 in total condemnation of city councils and cities who defund the police. Essentially, the amendment to the bill was to ensure that federal funding would not go to any cities or any states that defunded their police departments. Well, we have it once again, this time with Ilhan Omar, who proposed a defund the police measure, which was soundly, and I mean immediately, slapped down, blocked, rejected, and let's just say she's not too happy about it. So we're gonna cover the same topic we always do in these videos. Democrats have absolutely no idea how to problem solve, and especially we will transition that into Democrats have absolutely no idea how to solve this 2022 problem that's ahead of them. I'll tell you that much. We got a lot to get into, but before we do, do, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. Of course, like always, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so here we are with the headline for this video. Ilhan Omar, pretty upset about her blocked defund the police measure. Representative Ilhan Omar, Democrat from Minnesota, is furious about a recent court decision to block a measure that would overhaul the Minnesota Police Department. Representative Ilhan Omar, Democrat from Minnesota, is furious about a recent court decision to block a measure that would overhaul the Minneapolis Police Department. On Tuesday, the controversial far-left House member claimed that democracy is not being adequately served during a town hall meeting in Minneapolis amid divisive rhetoric and a possible veiled threat. According to Fox News' Jamie Anderson, the Hennepin district judge reviewed the measure, called the language unreasonable and misleading. Pretty much sounds like every far lefty on Twitter, unreasonable and misleading, and struck the measure down. This ballot measure should be on the ballot, said Omar during the meeting. As you can tell, I'm pretty upset about it. The leaders who are opposed to progress in this city are not nameless or faceless, she said. Using your network to obstruct the kind of progress so many people in this city wanted and were looking forward to is not something that should go unnoticed. And so, of course, typical far leftist Democrat doesn't get the chicken tendies they want, and so they want to stick the far lefty fascist mob on their political enemies. That is not a veiled threat, that is a literal threat. I don't care what anyone says. She's essentially saying, we know the names of people who are against our ridiculous, misleading, and unreasonable ballot measure, and it won't go unnoticed. We will come for you. These Democrats are completely out of control, folks. Not to mention the word progress coming from these far lefty Democrats who have done nothing but make matters worse and regress pretty much every single issue they run on in every single city they run in. All of this progress that we've been aiming to do in Minneapolis and Minnesota. You mean like increased poverty, a worse homelessness crisis, the highest violent crime and homicide rates seen in decades, underprivileged and underserved kids missing 2 years of school and falling behind like we've never seen before. Sounds like a whole lot of progress. These people are completely disconnected with reality. You are living in a fairy tale. We have people pouring in so much money to make us enslaved to a charter that the majority of us oppose. Again, a very interesting statement to say the least, considering we have the data, and I highly doubt that it's different in Minnesota in respect to anywhere else, especially considering Minnesota for the most part is a pretty moderate state outside of Minneapolis. I highly doubt that you have majority support in pretty much any of your policies when you poll specifically on the policy itself. To pretend as if there's a majority support for defunding the police within any racial group, any demographic, sociocultural demographic whatsoever, is a flat out lie. I mean, we're talking super majority territory, regardless of skin color, regardless of the amount of money you have in your bank, education, where you live, religion. Pretty much people across the board oppose defunding the police. Again, another far lefty Democrat completely out of touch with reality. Omar claimed that the court decision was the opposite of what democracy should produce, adding people had a vision for what they wanted. I'm not even gonna bother, I'm just gonna continue. There's a judge, there's a mayor, there's a police chief, and they're moneyed friends who are telling us we can't have a city that is flexible to our needs and our demands. How else are we supposed to make progress if we can't do that? Well, she played the wealth card. It's rich people's fault. I'm really surprised she never played the race card, though, I'll tell you that much. Omar did not elaborate on what other means may be employed to, quote, make progress. The question posed was whether voters would wish for an amendment to the Minneapolis City Charter, changing the Minneapolis Police Department to the Department of Public Safety. Again, you see such incredible progress. Just slap a new name on the police department, call it the Department of Black Lives Mattering, boom, problem solved. Racism BTFO'd. Progress has been achieved. It's the same trope that we see all the time with these far lefties. So you want to make progress. How you gonna do it? We're gonna defund the police and end the nuclear family. We're gonna cancel rent and cancel landlords and put an end to capitalism and jobs. No more jobs anymore. How about bread lines? Bread lines sound great, okay? How you gonna pay for it? After you literally destroy the system of capitalism and destroy public safety, ushering chaos onto the streets. We're gonna tax the rich. The rich won't be here anymore. They don't have answers. They can't pay for the policies. They can't defend the track record of their policies. They have no results, absolutely nothing but fantasy ideas. And for some reason, people still take them seriously as political contenders and political players. It's completely crazy. We're talking about a group of people who have done absolutely nothing. I mean, Joe Biden's a lame duck president, but Joe Biden's, for lack of a better term, lame duckedness pales in comparison to the total inability to literally do anything of value as the members of the squad. Who remembers Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez among the most ineffective lawmakers in Congress according to study? She's literally never gotten a bill to hit the floor. She can't even get ballot measures or amendments to pass, to even be voted on. She's been in office for 5 years at this point, 4 or 5 years, I don't know, I lose track. And no one can name a single thing that she has ever done other than wrapping herself in a Chick-fil-A bag and going to a $30,000 a seat Met Gala. Oh, ma-woke princess, ma-woke feminist hero icon. Oh my god, brave heroine Alexandria Cortez needs to run for president. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. Who are these people? And I'm not talking about the socialists and the squad and AOC and her compatriots. I'm talking about the people who support this stuff. Who votes for these people? Who supports these people? Who likes their Twitter posts? How are you even a human being? I mean, bright idea after bright idea. Here's another one. Mayor Lori Lightfoot announces new plan to fight Chicago crime. Sue street gangs. What? You're gonna sue street gangs which aren't even legitimate enterprises? I mean, does she think that street gangs are incorporated and have corporate numbers and are filing taxes under a specific entity? The Chicago Piru Bloods Incorporated. I don't even know if that's a real gang, but I'm sure something of the variation exists. But how is this a politician? How is this a thought leader? How is this someone who is a brave champion of the Democrat Party that millions of people will go out and vote for to lead a metropolitan city? We're living in some sort of dystopian idiocracy. Don't be a bigot, liberal hive mind. Don't get in the way of the progress. Suing criminal gangs is real progress. Stopping police officers from conducting foot chases on the ground with criminals, that's real progress. Hundreds of children being shot in Chicago every single year, don't question that, you bigot. It's absolutely crazy. It's peak clown world. It's a Babylon Bee comedy parody movie that we are living through. And the craziest part is I really think it's just getting started. This next generation, folks, millennials, Gen Z, sometimes I question if we're really making an impact whatsoever in the culture war. I hope so, but man, I'm not exactly sure. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. I gotta get back to work though. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Do you want to take the blue pill and just continue living your life completely oblivious to the deep state and the corruption behind the scenes? Or do you want to take the red pill and see truly how deep the rabbit hole goes? That's exactly how I feel with what's really going on behind the scenes with the Washington politically connected elite. And that is especially how I feel about Hillary Clinton and the 2016 election. You know how deep the rabbit hole goes? The Democrat deep state rabbit hole that somehow was able to mobilize federal agencies, the FBI, foreign spies, FISA warrants, the entire media establishment, all connected on a whim, ready to push the same propaganda, the same message, and attack the Washington corruption antibody that was Donald Trump. That's exactly how deep the rabbit hole goes. It goes through every little crevice, every hallway, every little inch of Washington. And without Donald Trump, millions upon millions of Americans would have never seen it. Well, now the whole thing is unfolding before our very eyes, and somehow it's just another story being swept under the rug. We're talking about some seriously suspicious stuff. Hillary Clinton's ex-lawyer just got indicted by the Durham probe for lying about Donald Trump's connection to the Russians. Where is the media? Where are the corrections? Where is the American populace absolutely fed up and waking up to this blatant, right in front of your very eyes corruption? The entire narrative that was shoved down your throat for 4 years straight that Donald Trump was a literal traitor, a Manchurian candidate working for the Russian president, Putin's puppet, was a fabrication by crony Democrats trying to overthrow a duly elected president. I don't want to hear about insurrection, to which there's no proof and no real connection to the former president. I want to hear about this shadow rogue coup that everyone just seemed to forget about. Let me update you guys on exactly what's going on, the corruption, Hillary Clinton's connection, the corrupt media, corrupt agencies, you name it. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so take a look at this. Years of Durham digging behind the scenes, and finally, something has materialized. Durham probe obtains indictment of Clinton lawyer for allegedly lying to the FBI about Trump campaign ties to a Russian bank. A grand jury indicted a lawyer who previously represented Hillary Clinton for allegedly lying to the FBI during a meeting where he presented information trying to connect the Trump campaign to a Russian bank. The indictment was part of special counsel John Durham's investigation into the origins of the FBI probe of alleged Russian collusion with 2016 Trump campaign. Michael Sussman, a prominent cybersecurity lawyer with deep Democrat ties, was indicted on charges that he lied to the FBI in a meeting with a senior official in 2016. Sussman reportedly tried to present evidence to the FBI connecting the Trump campaign to the Kremlin-connected Alpha Bank. The charging documents accuse Sussman of presenting himself as merely a concerned citizen without properly disclosing his connections to the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. Sussman denies wrongdoing. Oh, I'm sure the whole thing is copacetic, and the American people should definitely give these corrupt deep state Democrat actors full benefit of the doubt. I mean, why would this lawyer, who literally had connections to Hillary Clinton and her presidential campaign, who clearly is an expert lawyer at the top of his field, knowingly hide his connection to the Clintons and present himself as a concerned citizen, providing phony, quote, evidence, please in quotation marks, trying to prove some phony narrative that Donald Trump was connected to the Kremlin Alpha Bank? Clearly, he's a professional lawyer that knows that that breaks some serious ethics boundaries, and not only that, but is also criminal. Why would he incriminate himself to hide that specific connection? I wonder why. I mean, it's such a mystery, folks. We can't seem to figure it out. A random Good Samaritan lawyer connected to Hillary Clinton was just trying to expose the deep-seated corruption within the Trump administration and their connections to the Kremlin. Give me a break. Spreading a false narrative that literally, immediately as that information was presented and the narrative was said, Hillary Clinton was running with the narrative almost instantaneously. I'm sure his justification and his alibi is fully satisfactory though. Bunch of hogwash. This is absolute deep state corruption. The alleged connection between Alpha Bank and the Trump campaign led to histrionic accusations from the left against Trump and members of his campaign. Clinton herself tweeted about the claims just days before the 2016 presidential election, which she lost. Computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert server linking the Trump organization to a Russian-based bank, tweeted Clinton, with a link to a statement from her campaign's senior policy advisor detailing the accusations. Oh, and here's a familiar name. Statement from Jake Sullivan on new report exposing Trump's secret line of communication to Russia. Who's Jake Sullivan? Of course, the current United States National Security Advisor to President Joe Biden, the man who's been lying through his teeth about this whole Afghanistan debacle. Another corrupt, deep state political Democrat actor who did Hillary Clinton's dirty work, pushing a totally falsified narrative about concerning some sort of secret server that the Trump campaign was using in connection to the Kremlin. Jake Sullivan pushed Alpha Bank claim at center of Durham's possible indictment. I'm sure it's all just a coincidence once again, folks, that all these people are constantly connected. Those who play the game, play the corrupt, crony Washington game, attacking the Democrats' enemies, seem to just move up the ranks and get key cabinet positions within the Biden administration after their direct connection to the totally discredited, phony, salacious Steele dossier and the corrupt FISA warrant that it led to. Here's another tweet, by the way, from Hillary Clinton. It's time for Trump to answer serious questions about his ties to Russia. 4 things you need to know about the Trump organization's secret server to communicate with Russian Alpha Bank. Donald Trump has a secret server. Yes, Donald Trump. That seems like a statement of fact, but it's something again that hasn't been proven. It was set up to communicate privately with a Putin-tied Russian bank called Alpha Bank. When a reporter asked about it, they shut it down. 1 week later, they created a new server with a different name for the same purpose. There are no coincidences in this story. The whole thing lines up. This narrative just seemed to come out of nowhere. nowhere, the moment Hillary Clinton was in threat of losing the 2016 election, all of a sudden, Donald Trump is a traitor working for Putin, an American businessman, a mogul, who's been a patriot all his life, over 70 years, is all of a sudden a Russian agent? Based on the phony Steele dossier, which almost every single claim has been debunked at this point. By the way, the Steele dossier, which was directly connected to Hillary Clinton, UK court documents, Christopher Steele told FBI Clinton knew he was compiling the dirty dossier. The entire narrative which stemmed to the Steele dossier has been connected to the Democrats, the Democrat National Committee, Hillary Clinton, her campaign, her lawyers, and now we have one of her lawyers who pushed some sort of unhinged theory to the FBI acting as some sort of good Samaritan lawyer and did not disclose his connections, his direct connections to the, at the time, Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. I mean, you have to be closing your eyes and blocking your ears not to see this exactly for what it was, for what it is. Malignant Washington corruption that serves one purpose and one purpose alone: destroying anyone who gets in their way of total domination and control over the levers of power. Donald Trump didn't want to play nice, he didn't want to play their game, and so he had to be destroyed. And we're talking about people and entities who were fully willing to subvert democracy, to lie and manipulate, use federal agencies and phony information and phony warrants to go after a duly elected president because he got in their way. I don't know how any Democrat, any self-respecting individual on the left side or even left-leaning who can see this stuff and actually understand it for what it really is and justify it and pretend as if this is totally normal when it's clearly the exact opposite. Whether or not you think the intentions were correct, utilitarianism, the ends justifying the means, that it was all justified because Donald Trump was such a grievous threat and the Democrats just had your best interest at heart. They were trying to protect. It was all about social justice. The evil, potential despot dictator in Donald Trump just had to be thwarted by any means necessary. Even if that is your perspective, which I'm sure for a lot of Democrats, that's probably their exact justification. How do you sleep at night knowing you are so willing to excuse the deepest levels of corruption and abuse of power and concede that level of power and corruption to those who are perceived political allies that you think are on your side and representing you? That level of naivete is just unfathomable. Name a single time in history where enabling corruption and absolute power within the hands of anyone has led to anything good. The fact that this isn't the biggest story, the fact that this isn't getting under the skin of the average populace is mind-blowing. It makes the fight for truth and the fight against corruption a little bit more difficult, but I sure as hell know that's not going to stop me. We will continue to expose this stuff even when the media won't. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. I gotta get back to work though. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Here's just a disclaimer, guys, for the video. If you've noticed that maybe the audio quality, a couple things here are weird with the videos. I'm in the middle of traveling, bouncing from different hotel rooms and stuff, so if it's not directly on point, I apologize. I'm making do with what I got recording with this little microphone on my laptop. It's honestly hard to tell if the audio quality is good or not because I'm using these little rinky-dink speakers, but hopefully everything's okay. Maybe you can let me know in the comment section. Just wanted to update you guys on what's going on. But of course, back to the video. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. I've been waiting for an excuse to cover this specific topic, but it didn't have enough substance for a full video. Well, to my surprise, and luckily for me, finally, we can cover The Activist, a new TV show which, I'll just read you guys the summary. 3 teams of activists seek to advance their causes through a number of challenges that will lead to the G20 summit in Rome, Italy, where the winner is the team that secures the largest commitment of funds in this competitive reality TV show from Global Citizen. You far lefties need to wake up. Just like I said in the video with AOC and her Met Gala stunt, you are being used and abused by the liberal Democrat lobbyist class, the corporatist class, the Hollywood elitist class that pretends to be down with the same causes, the causes that really matter to you, but really it's just political pandering to make millions of dollars. I mean, just take a second to step back and think. If you have the exact same political ideology and are saying the same political talking points, the same rhetoric as Best Buy and Walmart and Apple. You gotta rethink your political perspective. You're not fighting the status quo, you're enabling the status quo. You're not fighting the man, you are a useful idiot for the man. People need to wake up. Hollywood is taking advantage of you, and they're taking you to the bank. And then they have the audacity to smack you in the face with this ridiculous TV show, pitting activists against each other. And only now far lefties are realizing that they're being taken advantage of. It's absolutely mind-boggling. The level of naivete on the left always hits new levels, but it's really never surprising, as all of a sudden, far lefties on Twitter are trying to cancel the activist as being tone deaf. The entire Democrat and political elitist establishment is tone deaf. The fact you haven't realized it yet is seriously disconcerting for the future of society. Let's get into this, folks. You are not going to believe this Hollywood nonsense. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so first off, let's go to the Metacritic page right over here. The Activist 2021, release date October 22nd, 2021. I'm sure it's going to be a smashing success and not a total get woke go broke scenario. Serious details and credits, as I read earlier. 3 teams of activists seek to advance their causes through a number of challenges that will lead to the G20 summit in Rome, Italy. For some reason, when I read that, I think of one specific TV show alone. I feel like there's a little bit of plagiarism here. I don't know about you guys, but it almost feels like Donald Trump's The Apprentice, but for far lefty Marxists on Twitter. The only difference was The Apprentice was actually appropriate. People fighting for a job within the corporate world, trying to impress and show what they're made of, as opposed to Hollywood celebrities using show business to take advantage of serious societal dilemmas. I mean, it's completely crazy. Who comes up with this stuff? You know, you think about the corporate world, you think about Hollywood. Who are these people being hired to these positions, making these kinds of decisions? I mean, if this is the standard in Hollywood, then I should be a Hollywood executive. This is crazy. Even lefties are finally realizing, whoa, what's going on here? The Activist reality TV series sparks backlash. Worst idea ever. Well, you think? We've reached the sad place where activism has turned into a reality show. These people say this type of stuff with absolutely no self-awareness whatsoever. Who do you have to thank for that? These far lefties have sided with big corporations, big business, Hollywood, big public figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Cenk's nephew. You've sold your soul to the devil, sided with corporations who care about absolutely nothing other than their bottom line, talking about human rights while siding with Apple and Nike, taking advantage of cheap and child labor in China, become Me Too activists, siding with Hollywood, the core of abuse and abuse of power. You're taking your battle against capitalism while siding with Hollywood, the most capitalistic society there is. Sure, there's a lot of benefits. There's a whole lot of crony socialism going on, but for the most part, you're talking about a society that is completely ran by marketing, image, endless profits, and celebrity. And you're surprised when you get stabbed in the back? It's about as naive as entrusting your passport and all of your most important documents with a known con artist and identity thief, thinking, well, everything should go fine. Not the greatest analogy, but you get what I'm trying to say here. It's an astonishing level of naivete. This idea that these Hollywood celebrities and Hollywood executives were on your side even for a second is a complete joke. I mean, look at the lineup. Usher, Priyanka Chopra, and Julianne Howe, whatever her name is, set for The Activist CBS competition series from Global Citizen. I mean, Usher's got to be worth like over $100 million at this point. The guy's manicured and wearing designer from head to toe, wearing makeup and shiny white teeth. We're talking about the most pretentious, self-centered, self-absorbed individuals on the entire planet. People whose entire ambition revolves around me, and career advancement and how much I can get my face out there. And you entrusted your sacred activism with these exact individuals who literally take it and say, how can I benefit from it? And immediately cut you out of the equation. Look at me, I'm so woke. Look at me, I'm such an incredibly good person. Oh, climate change. As they sail the seas on their massive, and I mean absolutely massive super yachts, burning through enough fossil fuel, pumping out enough carbon into the atmosphere for 2,000 families in a single month. Oh, wealth disparity, as these individuals do literally everything they can can to skirt paying taxes, and have illegal immigrants working in their homes that are paying like $5 an hour. We're talking about Los Angeles here, folks. It's the land of mega corporate crony capitalism, and you naive leftists thought that they were on your side. When are you going to get it? You have politicians who endlessly pander to you, say, oh, we're down with the cause, we're down with the cause. They get elected and immediately stab you in the back. You have massive corporations who are, for some reason, voting for increased taxes, increased regulation, and all of these social justice causes. And major corporations who keep voting for those policies which never actually get implemented, never really affect them. And we're talking about the most pig-headed executives at the top of these companies who care about absolutely nothing when it comes to your actual cause, merely sit in a boardroom all together saying, how can we take advantage of this trend in terms of marketing, and immediately throw you by the wayside after they've made their millions upon millions, sometimes billions of dollars. You are being used and abused and taken to the bank, as I keep saying. Lefties, it's time to wake up. Wake up and smell the coffee. You know what, at the same time, I don't exactly blame these people, because your ideas are just so ridiculously incompetent in the first place, and the level of naivete and the blind trust that you entrust in probably the most snake-like individuals, it's almost like you deserve it at this point. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Well, unfortunately, another video where I went on a crazy monologue and rant, and I completely forgot the entire point of the video. The point was, the actual host of the show got cancelled once again by the Twitter mob eating its own, but really realizing that they're being taken advantage of by capitalistic Hollywood. Julianne Howe apologizes for hosting The Activist reality show that pits activists against each other for their causes. And here's the Instagram message that she released. The last few days have been a powerful demonstration of real-time activism. Thank you for using your voices, calling me in, your accountability, and your candor. I am deeply listening with an open heart and mind. After the press release announcing The Activist, I heard you say that the show was performative, promoted pseudo-activism over real activism, felt tone-deaf like Black Mirror, The Hunger Games, and that the hosts weren't qualified to assess activism because we are celebrities and not activists. I heard you say that there was hypocrisy in the show because at the root of activism is a fight against capitalism and the trauma that it causes so many people, and that the show itself felt like a shiny capitalistic endeavor. I mean, guys, I don't know about you, but I literally instantly think when I read these Hollywood PR celebrity apologies, I think about the South Park BP oil skit where the guy just keeps going, "We're sorry.
We are deeply sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry."
It felt like a shiny capitalistic endeavor, and activism is anti-capitalist. Wake up, people! You commie lefty Marxists. I feel like I'm giving you advice. I shouldn't, but I mean, you're hopeless anyways. Wake up! Hollywood is the most capitalist place on earth. Designer clothes, luxury upon luxury, cars, boats, yachts, mega mansions. It's one of the marketing capitals of the world, Hollywood. All things that literally would not exist without capitalism. It's a place that's entirely for personal gain, for profit, public image, and nothing else. And you far lefty activists who are trying to usher in socialism, a communist revolution, are siding with those people. You've lost the plot. Your socialist queen is going to the Met Gala with all of these fancy celebrities, wearing a multi-$1,000 Chick-fil-A suit that says tax the rich. It's completely disingenuous. You are being taken advantage of. Wake up. But no matter how many times I say it, no matter how many times I point out the hypocrisy, lefties are just too susceptible. They're stuck within some sort of cult worship of celebrity. These people are like gods to them. Lefties are all about virtue signaling, and celebrities have this massive platform to, of course, send out the biggest virtue signals you could possibly imagine, and it just sucks them in. They're helpless to the Hollywood virtue signaling, and it's just a self-perpetuating cycle. I don't know what to tell you. No matter how many times I say it, I guess it's just human nature. Some people can see through the vapid nothingness in Hollywood, the empty platitudes and vapid virtue virtue signaling, and others just fall hook, line, and sinker right for it and take the bait over and over again. Without Hollywood, the Democrat Party, at least in its current state, probably wouldn't even exist. That's what I got for you guys though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. I gotta get back to work though. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. See, this is exactly what I've been telling you. The Democrats are doomed in 2022, and I'm not the only one saying it. We're not the only ones who know it. It's kind of an open secret, as more and more reports keep trickling out that the Democrats are also keenly aware, very aware, that they are headed to absolute catastrophic defeat in 2022. Public safety isn't working in their favor, the border, Afghanistan, economy, public safety is not working in their favor as they're the defund the police movement. Regardless of how much they try to separate themselves from that movement, it's stuck and it's not going anywhere. They have the failures in the Middle East, Afghanistan, the border crisis, inflation, the economy, the geriatric incompetent in chief, of course. The list goes on and on of things that are working against them. There's not a single one working for them. But we now have another factor, possibly one of the most important factors, working directly against the Democrats in 2022 that has them in complete panic mode. And of course, that's redistricting. The border lines for political districts are being redrawn in so many states at a total disadvantage for the Democrats. And so it's no longer speculation. We are now getting reports that the Democrats themselves are expecting to lose the House and lose the House big in 2022. So let's do a little bit of an analysis. We'll cover a bunch of different factors. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so here's the headliner piece for today's video. Report: Democrats will struggle to keep the House majority in 2022. A recent report from Politico showed the House Democrats would have a hard time keeping their majority after redistricting finalizes throughout the country. Democrats are struggling as they try to find candidates to run for office and possibly see no way to expand the seats they are looking for to flip due to redistricting. Additionally, many members are looking to retire or run for higher office. Breitbart News has extensively reported on Pelosi's majority crumbling. Politico outlined that the Democrats in the House have spent their last two elections, 2018 and 2020, talking about their achievements in unseating members in red districts, which have since gotten more competitive over the years without realizing the majority of these districts could disappear after redistricting. The report noted that Democrats got a hint of what is yet to come when Republican state lawmakers in Indiana unveiled a draft congressional plan that would transfer the state's most powerful competitive district into a relatively safe red seat. Christian Hale, the Democrat who lost against Representative Victoria Spartz, Republican in Indiana in 2020, told Politico that it's kneecapping to anyone interested in running against the Republican. She noted that Spartz' seat would not be competitive enough for a Democrat to win for years. Politico also noted in their report that Democrats are stuck on the defense after facing major losses in the last election that almost put Republicans in the majority and delivered